Hello again, folks. Today we're into the 6th chapter of Matthew's Gospel. And we're right in the heart of the Sermon on the Mount, the jewel in the crown of Jesus' teaching. And yet again, because there's so much content, in order to make any kind of meaningful comment, I'm only going to focus in on a little bit of this chapter. We're going to look at the last two sections. So in verses 19 to 24, Jesus talks firstly all about money. A hugely important topic, especially today. We all know the saying, money makes the world go round. Well, here Jesus challenges our perspective and our attitudes when it comes to riches and wealth. And what a challenge this is. Jesus even goes to the point of saying you cannot serve two masters. You cannot love both God and money. It's just not possible. They are mutually exclusive. And so in our hearts, we've got to sort of make this choice. Are we going to follow money or are we going to follow God? And Jesus gives reasons why choosing the latter is much more favorable. He essentially says that storing up treasures on earth is futile. Buying stuff, amassing material things, having loads and loads of possessions, filling our houses with it all. It's certainly the way of the world. It's certainly something that our culture kind of holds up as an example of success or achievement. You know, on social media, for example, the rich and famous, they post pictures and videos of themselves living in enormous houses with piles of bedrooms, vast numbers of cars sitting in their garages, going on exotic holidays every other week, it seems, maybe flying in private planes and so on. And Jesus warns storing up this kind of earthly treasure is futile. The saying goes, you can't take it with you. It's very true. In fact, it may even rot or fade or be stolen away from us. And Jesus really says there's only one place where wise people store their treasure, and that is in heaven, where it's safe with the Father. It can't be stolen. It cannot be destroyed. And so for us today, we have a choice. Are we going to follow or chase after money and riches, or are we going to share what we have with others? Are we going to be generous with the blessings that God gives us? Because remember, it's not actually a crime or a sin in itself to have money, even a lot of money in some cases. Many faithful saints over the years, even some in the Bible, had enormous amounts of wealth. God clearly gives money to some people. The key question, though, is not what is in our bank accounts, but the key question is what is in our hearts. How do we find out the answer to that question? Well, Jesus actually tells us where your treasure is, that's where your heart is. So the real question for us is, what is it that you treasure the most? Is it God? Is it righteousness? Is it the pursuit of holiness or chasing after Christ? Or is it money, power, fame, fortune, material possessions? Whatever it is, that's where your heart is. This passage is a huge challenge for us in the Western world. Surrounded by wealth, many of us have a lot of wealth at our disposal. Jesus warns, be careful with your money. It's like seawater. The more you drink, the thirstier you get. And if you're not careful, before you know it, you'll be in love with it, chasing it the rest of your life. And that then means that God will end up far from your mind. You cannot love both God and money, Christ says. The final passage then, verses 25 to 34, follows on really from that idea of money. Either we have money and crave more, or we don't have money and we crave some. In both cases, worry is an inevitable companion. And here Jesus tells his disciples that they ought to be different. True followers of Jesus should not worry, full stop. Often we think, sure, worry is just kind of a part of life. It's not really wrong as such. Well, Jesus gives the command to his followers, do not worry. And the reason for that is because God is the one who sits sovereign over his world and over our lives. And he has plans for us all. He knows what's best and he knows what we need. So Jesus gives reasons in this passage why worry is forbidden. Firstly, he says it's unnecessary. God even looks after the birds of the air, so how much more will he care for human beings, the object of his love and affection, those who are made in his image? Secondly, worry is useless. It cannot add a single hour to our lives. The past can't be changed. The future can't be known. So why do we do it? Thirdly, worry is ignorant, unable to learn the lesson that God is the one who provides. And finally, worry is essentially, and this may sound harsh, it's a failure to trust God. It means we do not trust his plans, or perhaps his faithfulness, or perhaps his ability to provide. Now, I know that this is all far easier said than done. I struggle with worry just as much as anyone else does. And especially in the midst of a season like this that we find ourselves in our world. So many of us are full of worry. But just because loads of us do it doesn't somehow make it okay. God doesn't want his people to be people of worry. He wants our hearts to have peace even in the storms, because our faith is founded in him, because we trust in his goodness and care, because we believe that whatever comes our way is ultimately for our good. When we think of verses like Romans 8:28, we may not know until eternity how this is the case, why anything happens, and it's still for our good. But that's why it's called faith. So there we have it, folks. Another chapter, another huge challenge for us, but also a wonderful reminder that nothing is more precious than Christ. No one is more faithful than God. That's us for today. In fact, that's us for this week. Join us on Monday afternoon as we head on into chapter 7. Until then, God bless.